has to deal with Chelsea Manning being released from prison. Paul, you were reading about the story. You were talking about it to us. What is the situation happening, and what's going to happen to Chelsea Manning in the future?
So largely this was expected when she was originally put in prison. So she was put in prison 62 days ago, or at this point, 64 days ago, for refusing to testify in a grand jury. And the case that she made was, this is not being done in good faith. You are attempting to get me to testify about something that I have already testified about, and you will eventually use this to prosecute me, not necessarily with this particular charge, but with another one. So for her refusal to testify in a grand jury, with very just reasons, because they wouldn't tell her what they were asking her about, because she wasn't allowed to have a lawyer, because it wasn't allowed to be publicized, because grand juries are repeatedly misused to persecute the person that they're supposed to be protecting, she was put in prison for a little over 2 months. Now, the reason she was released from prison is because that grand jury time period has expired. So the term of that grand jury is over. But even before she was released from prison, she was served with another subpoena for another grand jury, which she has said she also plans to do, for the same reasons, refuse to testify, because it will be yet another grand jury trying to get her to either implicate herself and also provide additional dirt, something that they can get Julian Assange on, because it's all related to the releases that she made regarding U.S. military's breaches of international law. We expect that grand jury will begin next Thursday, so we expect that she will be a free woman for a grand total of just slightly less than 1 week before she again refuses to testify and will again find herself in the Truesdale Adult Detention Center in Alexandria, Virginia. So a couple of points I wanted to make about this also that aren't in the article. The article is a very short blurb that just details essentially that. Like, she's released from prison, she's gonna go back on Thursday. No one ever beats a charge from the EDVA. No one ever has. If you were charged with, releasing secrets of the U.S. government, or, I was going to use the word colluding, but essentially this is a tool that the U.S. government uses to punish people for their activism, for exposing the truths about the United States crimes on the international stage. And it's really, really disheartening to see that this is going to continue to happen. I just saw that Chelsea Manning made her first tweet since being released. She said her first words when on being released from jail were, "Hey, doggo." Apparently, she got to see her dog. So, wow. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, this is one. I'm happy that she is released, but we got to remember she's going to probably be back in prison again. I think this is also a way to try and break her so that she can spill out more information about Julian Assange, or force her to make facts, doing air quotes, about Julian Assange and whatever he was associated with WikiLeaks, and whatever her relationship was with WikiLeaks as well. I think this is the establishment's way of basically showing anyone, if you leak information, if you're a whistleblower, this is what's going to happen to her. And this should concern a lot of people, because what's happening to Julian Assange, what's happening to Chelsea Manning, is a crisis, and it's a danger to whistleblowers, it's a danger to people who want to call out corruption, and it's a danger to independent press and media. And it also includes, yes, the establishment media too, because while they will come after independent media, don't worry, they'll come after you too, as soon as one of you guys gets out of line.
Yeah. So I think that the other angle that we have on this with Chelsea is that we can trace this back to the Obama administration. This is happening because Americans were complacent for many decades. I mean, in a sense,
we were out getting brunch.
We were out getting brunch. People were being complacent for the last 40 years. So this is a system that has been built up in the open, little bit not as talked about on news, but it was built in the open for many, many decades. And now that we're here, it is in full swing. Trump is using it. He's using it just the same way that Obama was using it. And Chelsea Manning, and if they're going to hold her at 2-month intervals in jail, she's already been through far worse under Obama. So I'm not sure that if their intent is to break her through 2-month intervals, she's already done much worse.
Are you saying that the Trump administration basically inherited these interrogation policies
Yeah.
from the Obama administration?
And so-
Impossible.
So what we're dealing with is a system, really a system, and she is just one effect of that system functioning as intended. So the big issue that this is this pushes us closer and closer to a point where saying anything negative about the government is illegal, which is why the solution to something like what's happening with Chelsea Manning, the only real thing we can do is get to a point where we have a new government, a reformed government, and we keep pushing for this. The primaries matter in this case because this is a system that's been built up through bureaucracy. It has legal precedent, has everything that a wonderfully secretive, terrible organization could ever ask for. It's in place. So what are we going to do about Chelsea? Hope she survives in the way hope she survives. Keeps not talking about anything. They don't get her on anything. If they try to get her on something or they succeed, then we really only can hope that another president that comes next will commute her sentence. Otherwise, this is a thing that's already been set in motion for 40 years.
And I can guarantee this, Biden will not commute her sentence because he was part of the Obama administration. Right. But everyone has all these rose-colored glasses on about Obama and Biden. They want things to go back to normal. This is why, again, Daniel was correct. You have to get involved during the primaries because already you can tell the establishment's doing whatever they can to get Biden to become the #1 lead. And all these attacks on whistleblowers happened during the Obama administration. And I hope that Chelsea Manning is able to defeat this, but it's a concern, Paul.
So a lot of people will often come and say, well, she's not cooperating with a legitimate investigation. If she would just cooperate, then she wouldn't end up in prison. And I consistently counter with, she has reasonable reason to believe that she will not be asked questions in good faith, and that the stated purpose of a grand jury is to bring a witness in for a sensitive case, to ask them questions about a case against someone else, to collect information on what will eventually be this other court case. Consistently, what it is actually used for is because it's a secret hearing, that person, because they're not being charged, doesn't have a lawyer.
All right.
Because that person is not being charged and because it's a secret hearing, the press is not allowed, and that person doesn't know what questions they're going to be asked. But all of the information that is collected can be used in any other case. So, we're not going to prosecute you. It's all fine. We just have some questions. You don't get the right to plead the Fifth Amendment here. We're going to put you, we're going to make you answer these questions, and we're going to take that testimony, and even though we've said we're not prosecuting you because this isn't about a case against you, look, now there's a case against you because now we have evidence in the permanent record that we can incriminate you with. So while it's designed to protect people, it is consistently used not to, and there's a reason why there are only 2 countries in the world that still use the grand jury system because of this major flaw. The 2 countries are the United States and Liberia. So we're on par with Liberia in terms of our legal status of the use of grand juries.
Liberia is known as a very fair judiciary.
Everybody knows Liberia is super fair.
So real quick, we got a super chat shout out from Hank Kerschel. The American education system attempts to brainwash everyone. Brainwash everyone is to expose it, to never question anything, and just accept what they are taught. That's why so many Americans have cognitive dissonance. That's right.
Again, this is. I mean, again, I will say what I said before on this. This is 40 years of effort, and that's a lot of people's, majority of many people's lives, and many people's lives that were under the Red Scare and the Cold War. This is a culmination of everything happening.
Absolutely. And also shout out to Lainey Peterson. How you doing? It's all very convenient, isn't it? ? That's correct. And also shout out to Eshiva. You're in and out watching the video. Thank you so much for joining us. All of you, thank you so much to the people who contribute to our super chat. You guys are helping fund our show. So I think, Paul, any other final notes about this story?
Yeah, it's one that we're going to continue to watch, continue to follow. It has a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of actors that are involved in it. It's tangentially related to what's going on with Edward Snowden and with other whistleblowers. This is one of those really it's a more important story than it is given credit for in any other mainstream press outlet.
Right.
It's worth our attention.
One final very quick point on this. Remember, the government hasn't made whistleblowing illegal. It has just made blowing into an object that makes a sound that a whistle makes illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there
a
you go.
crisis. So